everybody, my name's Fire, and welcome back to Conan Exiles. Today we'll be looking into dungeon loot because it is all different now and you might have a very profitable time. In a previous video I made, I talked about camps and faction loot being rather, well, I guess reduced, or furniture simulator, or as someone said in my Discord, IKEA. So let's take a look at the loot from the Black Keep, aka King Scourge's Den, and it is awesome. So in my previous video I was saying, you know, the loot is not good in towns anymore, or villages and stuff. But in dungeons, it's a very different story. The loot is extremely good in dungeons. Let me grind this down. Also, I got some comments asking me, can you actually do the give all and it goes into the dismantle slot instead of the inventory? Yes, you can. It all goes in there now and sits in there beautifully. My only complaint was I wish this tab was a little bit bigger, so if you do that and put some things in there that don't need to be in there, then you can go ahead and take it back out a little easier. And then I would like for the take all to actually take everything, because it does still leave things in here. So you just need to be a bit careful with putting in raw resources into this slot when you're doing it. Alright, and looking at the loot grinded up, you can see it amounts into this amount. So dungeon loot is really quite nice, I'm not gonna lie, I quite like it. And this is just from King Scourge's area, so it's not the biggest dungeon in the world, but the loot from it is quite nice. I think the biggest complaint I have is you get tons of lance cores and shield frames and things like that, and weapon handles, and you can't grind these down. So I might actually collect all of these at the end of the video and see how much we get, because you do get a lot. We are now looking at the Temple of Frost, which is a good variety of stuff, although you're going to notice a lot of black ice picks and weapons and stuff like that. It will give you a ton, actually. It's very profitable that way. Of course, you get ice, black ice, and I noticed you're getting quite a lot of taxidermies and stuff like that. Treasure, as always, seems to be a thing that seems to be very prevalent with this new loot table as well as some golem parts and taxidermy bits. I'm going to grind this all up though and see what it gives us. Now I've ground it all up, you can see all of that black ice stuff gave me quite a lot of hardened steel bar. This is a really nice kind of farm for some hardened steel bar, I won't lie. I do wish some items would grind though. The arrows and the javelin do not seem to grind down for some reason. Maybe they'll alleviate that problem, but who knows. But it's a decent amount of loot for such a tiny dungeon. Now, the Warmaker's dungeon's always been a really solid one. I could tell you what this is really solid for, though, is definitely golem parts. It did give me quite a bit of those. When we were doing this one as well as the other dungeons, we killed the mini-bosses and took their loot as well, because they will be part of your looting experience. I am noticing with these new dungeon sets, you get quite a lot of obsidian, which means you might not even have to bother getting normal obsidian up in the Volcano area. That and a lot of gold and silver coins were also very much profitable, and a ton of Grandmaster weapon repair kits, like absolutely loads. Again though, with this dungeon I am noticing way too much sturdy string, lance cores, weapon handles, etc., and the shield frames, and you cannot grind those down. And there's just way too much of it. I would rather something else be there, or at least let us grind it down before this patch comes out. One thing I got to note when I was grinding these down, you don't actually get a lot of grindable items, and some of these you'd probably want to keep anyway, so a lot of the items you do get from Warmakers, you don't really need to dismantle at all. Having a look at our loot, may I just say, look at the hardened leather right there. That is gorgeous. All this is a lovely loot that I had farmed throughout this lovely dungeon. 100% worth hitting up. I would say this is really nice of a loot set that you can get. And checking out the other lot over here, you can see the radium gems, another one of those items you can't grind down but you get a lot of, and a few of the legendary items we got as well as the normal keys that you can get in there. Next I went to the Wine Cellar, which has always, to be honest, been one of the best dungeons, if not the best dungeon for loot in this game. I want to see how this has fared out since then though, because we'll see. It has a lot of chests. Are those chests actually good? Well, I can say I got a decent amount through it. When you come into the beginning part, you do get a lot of booze for some reason. I mean, I'm not complaining, but you do get a lot of it. And you do get some furniture chests in here as well, which I don't know why you get those there, but it's fair enough. But you do get quite a lot of loot here. It can be quite convoluted, and of course, like I said in previous videos, you might roll different loot to mine, so this might differ a little bit between farms, but for the most part, you'll get a pretty consistent kind of idea from this video. But I'd say it's a really solid kind of lump of stuff you get in here, especially a lot of gold and silver coin in here. You can farm a lot, and you can get a decent pool of obsidian and star metal and a hardened steel bar, and again that beautiful hardened leather, which I realized in my last video I said hardened leather instead of thick leather when I was talking about Set City. Whoops. You also get hardened brick in here, which is nice, you know, extra bits to build with. Overall, I'd say nice solid choice. Now I've ground it all down, let's have a look at some of my dismantled items. As you can see, there's a lot of variety in this dungeon in particular when it comes to items. I actually got 3 chests full of different things in here, which is always nice. We got some steel, iron, different bits of shape and wood, dust, just a whole big variety. I feel like I could do with like a sorting system like Unlock Plus has with all these items. Oh my goodness. Now we're going to be looking at the water dungeon, which, to be honest with you, a lot of the loot here is easily accessible as long as you got some breathing potions, because a lot of it does hang out in either the final area with all the prison cells or underwater where you get nothing hurting you at all. So that's pretty nice, I will admit. However, I think the biggest loot you'll get here will mostly consist of gold and silver. You can pretty much use this as your opportunity to do your treasure dive. If someone else has done the jungle treasure dive, you could choose this one instead and get way more gold and silver. Having a look at some of my loot from this dungeon, you can see I got quite lucky on a perfected steel great axe and a steel hammer. You could probably pick up a couple of easy weapons if you wanted to. Some food, some drink, some upgrades, coin purse, which we'll open in a bit and dismantle all the other bits. Of course, you get your pearls from this one, silver bars, and a lot of furniture. You even get breathing potions to help you out with the loot on this one. Not greatly inspiring, but let's see what it looks like when it is dismantled. And here we go, dismantled loot. A lot of this hardened steel, and steel though is mostly from the 2 weapons I dismantled, so just bear that in mind when looking at this. But I would say, again, the gold and silver coins, really nice. And then you got some extra tidbits to add on top. Not overly amazing, but really good if you, want gold and silver, which is very, with the theme. Also, I noticed you get the Twitch drops from here. I'm hoping that maybe they'll put like future older Twitch drops into the loot pool as well in the future, so if you're playing the game legitimate, that you can find these and use these if you did not get the drops. Coming on to my last set, I had to choose between Dregs or the Volcano, but honestly I really wanted to show you guys the Volcano loot, as it is quite spectacular, I won't lie. There's been a major improvement there, and honestly it's a really good spot to farm if you have the time. There is a lot of chests in the Volcano, and some of them can be a little tricky to get to, but most of them you can definitely pin down. I definitely enjoy the new diggable grave areas. As long as you have a grave digger shovel, you can dig up treasures from these and add them to your pile. The only thing about the treasures is I wish they gave you a little more than they do right now. But to be fair, the haul was really nice, and I can imagine actually that you could probably, as long as you got something to deal with the heat, run pretty early through here if you can manage it, because you can dodge quite a few of the things in this room. So yeah, that would be quite interesting, just hopping around for treasure in there, as long as you got something to deal with the heat in particular. But having a look, have a look at this. Of course, a lot of obsidian, and you can see the hardened steel bar, the steel reinforcements, the hardened leather is juicy. You also get quite a lot of weapons in this one. that you can ground down, especially unique drops and stuff like that. Again, a lot of treasures like I was saying, and quite a few coins as well as decorations. And I got 2 chests out of this one in total with the loot I got there. You can see even more supplement items and the guardian heads in there. Now I've ground it all down. All that supplement weaponry stuff gave me quite a bit of iron bar, which is quite nice of an addition on top of that. As you can see the loot in here, unfortunately the unique weapons currently don't let you grind them, which is a little weird if they let you grind down the legendary ones. I feel like they definitely need to sort this out, because especially with the world bosses now, they also can drop hardened unique stuff. You would hope to be able to grind the ones you don't like to get a bit of profit, especially as they now want you to utilize this dismantling bench even more. So I'm hoping they will fix that and path these correctly when it comes to the grinder, because they're not grindable currently, as well as of course the handles and stuff, which we'll be looking at the end. And then we have a look further down, lots of Grandmaster repair and Grandmaster armor repair, and a bunch of treasure of course, which is lovely. Anyways, like promised, we have checked out pretty much most of the dungeons in the exiled land and seen their loot. Let's see how many shield and weapon handles I have accumulated from just one farm of all of these dungeons. Drum roll please. This is what we got from one farm of pretty much all the dungeons minus the dregs. That is insane. Why do we need this many items for weapons that you can't grind, may I add? I have the feeling they thought that this would be ideal because the purge is here and you would want these kind of items to help you build more weapons and stuff like that. But with the unique hardened steel stuff being given out like hotcakes, why would you need this amount? And why would you need this amount to begin with anyway, since having more thralls makes the purge harder? So you would ideally probably not want more thralls, you would just want a moderate amount. So you wouldn't need to gear them to this extent. Like, you know, I can make 200 shields with this. I can make, I don't know, 300 things with a lance core, 200 weapon handles. I don't know if I'd ever use that as just a solo person in a game, let alone in a group. It's just absurd amounts of weapon handles and stuff. So I think either solution here is to let us grind it down into something worth it. Yeah, it's nice, or lower it and up the amount of other stuff you can get, because this is just silly. This is one farm, okay? One farm of all of these. You get this. It is ridiculous. I don't think I'm going to ever use this amount of radiant gems. They definitely want me to open an IKEA at this point, I swear. But yeah, let me know what you think on these new dungeon items. I just thought I'd meme on this last part, and maybe it will hopefully get the message across that this is a little ridiculous with these extra parts here. The loot does need a little bit more rebalancing, but I would say for the dungeon loot, I'm definitely extremely happy with it for the most part. It seems well balanced all around from all the dungeons I have tested, and I'd be pretty happy with a lot of this loot. They just need to sort these out, or at least make them dismantleable into things like, I don't know, shaped wood, crystal, you know, stuff like that. Even normal wood, you know, I'll take it. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you were interested on what the faction loot is like and you haven't seen my previous video on that, definitely check it out. I'll leave it in the cards or in the end screen for you to have a look if you haven't seen it yet, so you can check out how camps are changing when it comes to the new loot table. Anyways, thanks for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.